Welcome to episode 20 of the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. For those tuning in for the first time, we are a book club for people who like to read comics, where every week we select a different story arc or a volume. We all read along together, and then we meet on this live stream to discuss that book and give it a cheeky little review at the end and see what we thought. Of course, we'll be asking you guys watching live as well to help us out with that. So there you go. You can find a link in the description if you want any further information to all the socials, Instagram, podcasts, all of that stuff. So this week, what have we been reading? Well, we have been reading Once and Future Volume 1 from Boom Studios, which was originally published in single comic book form in 2019, and Volume 1 was published in 2020. And I do believe its proper title is The King is Undead.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. That's what we're doing, folks. So, as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts. Do not adjust your screens. This is not the Backstreet Boys. Over here, we have Phil from Phil's Nerdyverse on YouTube.
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
We have...
That was my impression of Scott.
Well.
On Shane.
It's all right. Hold on, Dean, are you okay? Was that an earthquake?
There you go. I've dropped you, folks. Would you believe it? My camera has just leapt off the top of the unit here. Wow.
It's the ghost.
This is live TV, folks.
Well,
and we have Shane a lot.
Ahoy.
And we also have Shelf Scalibur.
Hello, how you doing, guys? This is obviously an unexpected turn of events, but as Dean said, we are talking about Once and Future Volume 1. It's
your pick.
It was my pick. It was my pick this week. Rightly so. It was actually the book that got me into doing the YouTube, and it was my first books on YouTube. And he's back.
And we're back in the room. There you go. I had no idea what happened there. That thing just needs bolting down, I think. That's the first time it's ever leapt. It's still leaping up.
You're gonna have
does not want to stay here today, man. Right, just stay put, man. Leave me alone. Stop picking on me, man. We've got things to do. Right, where did we get to?
We've introduced ourselves.
Well, thank you. There you go. Right, so let us meet the herd then. And let's get back on track here. We've got Firehawk joining us this evening. We've got TB Collects. What's up, everybody? Super excited for this week's show. We got Liam. Hello, folks. We've got Amy joining us. Hello, everyone. Can't wait to talk about this tonight. Should be a good one. I think it already is with this camera. If I hope my second time reading it, maybe better this time, he's saying. We've got Ian's of Comics. We've got Lee joining us as well here as well. I'll drop a link for Lee's channel towards the end of this video, folks, as well. Lee's fairly new to the YouTube community, yeah. So I'll drop a few links at the end. I've got a few shout outs to give, so I'll throw Lee's in there for everybody. Who else have we got down here? We've got Samuel Taylor joining us as well. Hi, Sam. Tom's here as well. Good evening. I hope you are all well. I call everybody. No, we've got Comics versus the World. Evening, gents, as usual, popping in to say hi. I've not read Once and Future, but I love Kieran Gillen's Phonogram, Wictive, and Young Avengers. There we go. Thanks for stopping by.
I put Phonogram on my list purely based on Comic versus the World's recommendation.
This is going out the window. Right, that's it now. We're going to see how far we can chuck. I know, usually I'm on the ball here.
This is live TV. Anything can happen.
Yeah, it's very true. We've got GP Venom here as well. And we've got Beth joining us as well. Hey, everyone. Shane, I'm so scared that bat is going to fall on your head. Never mind Shane's bat falling. It's the camera, bro.
Perfectly secure. It's okay. I'm a very good handyman.
We got TB Collects here as well saying, Undead King Arthur is angry with Deano. With a BSO, man.
That's the joke I was trying to make.
We've definitely got some issues going on here with this. I have no idea. Usually this is just stuck firm in here. I don't know why it's playing up today. Anyhow, folks, that's what we've been reading. Those are the people joining us today. Thank you for bearing with us with this camera issue that we've been having. We appreciate it. So we're going to need a synopsis, and I'm thinking of mixing it up. Usually we do a random synopsis, and I think going forward, we should have the synopsis from the person who chose the book. Yeah?
Perfect.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it works better, doesn't it? So in that case, Scott, over to you to let folks know about Once and Future?
Right. Okay. So Once and Future, this volume follows a story where the scabbard of Excalibur. Is it Excalibur? Yeah. Well, a scabbard is found, and it's known that it has healing powers, and this group of people basically use it to revive King Arthur, and then it's essentially left up to this old lady called Bridget, who used to be this incredibly badass monster hunter and still is, just a bit slower now, and how she drags her unknowing grandson Duncan into this whole world, and you just see this relationship unfold between them and how they deal with this whole King Arthur revival situation.
There we go.
Right.
That is a very good synopsis there, mate. To be
you.
honest, you did a really good job. So to kick us off then, do we know who went first last week? I can't remember. The camera thing's throwing me off now. Forget it, show's over, folks. We're done. We don't know. I think, was it Shane went first last week?
So, yeah.
Yes.
So, Phil, would you like to start us off?
A few points I want to make. First of all, is it Bridget McGuire is the grandmother that Scott speaks of.
Yes.
She's as tough as old boots. We have to acknowledge the fact that she's actually Irish, so of course she's going to be tough as old boots, because we all are. This is a great story, but we always usually start with the art, and I've never heard of this person, Tamara Bonvillain. If that's her real name, that's excellent. If that's a pseudonym, that's excellent.
Yeah.
But the colours in this book were fantastic, I thought.
100%.
I just thought the kind of palette and the colours put in this book were great. So
It's worth pointing out as well, just due to the chaos of the cameras there as well, that Once and Future was written by Kieran Gillen and art was done by Dan Mora as well. I forgot to do that bit. There's a lot I forgot to do. Hey, do you know what? Shut up. Stop judging me, man.
It's okay. But yeah, this I thought this was fantastic. I was looking forward to it purely because I'm not a big Kieran Gillen fan, but Dan Mora is Scott's best friend and probably one of the best current best artists around. I think it's fantastic.
I've got a sneaky feeling, Phil, we're going to see some fangirling from Scott down there today.
Yeah, I'm going to try and talk as long as I can so we don't have time for Scott to talk. So, but yeah, Bridget McGuire, like the character, the lead character, I suppose, she is fantastic. Oh, Dan Mora,
He's going red as well. Look,
he's blushing.
Right,
Poor Scott's blushing.
It's my heart throb.
Dan Mora could be watching this, Scott.
Great. We'd be best friends forever then.
Mm. Hey, Dan, if you are watching, do you recommend any place to buy a new camera holder from? You got to ask. Yeah, I agree with you, Phil. I think the art on this was as expected for me. I thought it was really beautiful, really vivid, and I can see why, Scott loves the art in this before he's even opened his mouth here. The clean lines and stuff from Dan Mora, they're just beautiful, aren't they? You know what I mean? Like, you've got this vivid, almost cartoon-esque to me. Like I said it before when we read Klaus. To me, he's got a very, I'm not making a comparison, but it's kind of got a Disney vibe to me to it. Like, it's got that kind of like magical touch.
Yeah, 100%. And we always kind of touch on things like facial expressions, the way he draws the faces whenever they're goofing about, they're angry or they're whatever, like, or they're in battle. Like, he just has a knack of just drawing great facial expressions.
The artist of Thor last week could definitely learn a thing or two about facial expressions.
Oh, Lord. Sassy Scott's arrived, everybody. Let's just check the chat before we continue. We've got TB Collect saying he loved the granny story. GP Venom saying he did amazing work on Die. We've got TB Collect saying Dan Mora is absolutely great on everything I've read of his. And we've got Perpetual Comics saying the first 6 issues of this run is great, and then it dies a slow death. The cover for issue 13 was the best thing to happen since then. Ooh.
In all honesty, I've read volume 2, and I slightly have to disagree. I think it ramps up. I think it's a different vibe to this book, but it's not a bad thing. In my opinion, I really enjoyed it, and I read the whole thing in one go. Loved it.
The best thing about this book as well, for every issue, like obviously like most issues do end on a bit of a cliffhanger to keep you interested, but every issue ended on a really funny, exciting cliffhanger to the point where, like, I mean, I don't want to spoil too many things, but just holding her grandson at point blank hostage in the car, and like it's just the way things end, and then it obviously picks up the next issue. It's just really clever, kind of the way they split it into 6 issues.
Yeah.
Shane, what you've been pretty quiet down there, mate. What did you make of the art? Because I know, as Scott mentioned, you had the big problem with the facial expressions on that Thor book that we looked at last week. How do you find this one?
Oh, perfect. For me, it's faces. I can excuse everything else in a book if the face is really good, and the faces were gorgeous. Every single one.
How did you find King Arthur's face then? Because that's obviously just a skeleton, pretty much, isn't it? How
it was just fantastic.
The
way it slowly started to regenerate, and there was just bits of flesh coming back onto it, and you could see expressions after. Really well done. Even his knights that he brought back, they're all unique, all individual, all fantastic faces. Brilliant.
And I will say as well, like, even though this is the same artist, it's different enough from something like Klaus, in my opinion. You know, the tones and the colors and stuff in this are very, very, it's a different vibe totally to like the Klaus stuff that we looked at, I think.
But you can see the faces are structured the same way. You can see the artist has a very set way to do a face. It's really lovely, and that's his style, and it's great. Even in the Batman Dark Detective at the moment, fantastic faces.
We all agreed with Klaus that Klaus was drawn very handsomely. He was a very handsome chap. Would you say Duncan is also a very handsome chap in this book?
Duncan was a handsome chap.
I thought he was a handsome fella. Yeah.
Well, we've got Firehawk slightly disagreeing. He did not like the red facial hair.
You can't say that.
Why?
Hating on gingers.
Why not?
Does he mean my red facial hair or Duncan's?
I think Duncan got a lot more attractive as the book went on, and he got more and more confident. That's why the panel that I chose was the panel where I was like, he is the most handsome. He is so
we got Amy here as well, just saying about King Arthur. You know, you were mentioning the art there, Scott. King Arthur reminded me of the Horned King in Disney's Black Cauldron. Creepy looking, but holds your attention. Yeah, that's kind of true. Does have that vibe about him.
Yeah, I think the fantastic thing about Duncan in this story is how wonderfully paced his little journey was, from nervous wreck to confident. You know, still nervous and apprehensive about things, but he has this confidence about him now. Like, he knows what he needs to do. You know, after he finds out more about himself and why he was raised the way he was and his family and stuff like that. And it's just like, I think because of that knowledge, he became more and more confident.
Yeah, for like those that haven't read it essentially kind of like he just starts out as a kind of random nobody really until you kind of see a connection between him and his badass grandma, as Phil was talking about. And then that kind of family reveals then, doesn't it, about the monster hunting, and then we get the threat of King Arthur and stuff like that in there as well.
At the start, that initially kind of irked me, the fact that Duncan and, is it Rose or Rosa, the girlfriend?
Rose.
Like, Rose, they were just very quick to like pick up what was going on, if you know what I mean. Like, there was no kind of in between. They're just like, they're just normal, and all of a sudden they're starting to accept that there's these kind of myths and legends and monsters. But then what you just said there, Scott, makes sense. The fact that Bridget has been training her grandson since he was a young pup. So maybe like she's training him to the point that, well, if this does happen, he will be able to accept it quickly.
Yeah, it's more accepting.
Just move on with it. So that makes sense.
Then it was very fast for Rose to accept that as well, which was
weird. It was just that note in the box, wasn't it? She just opened that box, and in there was a handwritten note, and then she was just okay with it.
Trust this woman. Do what she said.
Particularly when her first introduction to Bridget McGuire was when She called it their front door at gunpoint. It's just like,
She's not going to shoot you. Well, she shot me, but I'm family. It would be rude if she shot you.
Before we move on to some of the writing and stuff, then guys, do you want to talk about some of the panels and the artwork that you enjoyed in this? You've sent me over some of your screenshots, haven't you?
Yeah.
That you enjoyed. Scott, you wanna go first, mate, and talk about what you picked here? We just find it for you. I'm scared to touch this thing now in case it just like leaps off at me again.
So this was my absolute favorite page. It doesn't have anything integral to the story. It's just really cool how Dan Mora was able to kind of use the panels in this way to show like disorientation and, you know, the kind of, I don't know, struggle and the kind of the need to get away. And I thought all of that was just really cool. And I was just like, you know, I'm kind of reading the panels and I'm going like this, like, you know what I mean?
Is this the part in the story where they're kind of crossing back over from the other world?
Yeah. So they've just shot at Galahad. Well, missed. And then they're just legging it now.
Yeah, they're going back through like the portal or whatever it's called, and
from the other world,
the other world, and but I thought this panel was fantastic as well.
Yeah, TB Collects is saying this page is amazing. That is a great, a great page. I'll be honest, that's probably one of the it's got to be up there in one of my favorites of these first 6 issues.
Definitely.
Scott, you said there that she missed her shot. Did she miss, or did Duncan purposely?
Well, Duncan wrecked it for her.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good old Duncan sported, didn't he? Shane, how about you and your panel, buddy? Do you want to tell people why you picked this one?
I picked this one because throughout the entire book, I thought Duncan was a bit of a div. I mean, he kept ruining everything. He's the one that kicked the stone. He stood up. Like every chance she had the Gran had to stop them or to get ahead of them, he ruined. And I thought he was going to stay like that throughout the whole book. But when he got Excalibur from the Ladies of the Lake and his Gran shot herself and he just comes through like that, I just thought he looks fantastic, just with his Gran over his shoulder and his sword in his hand. And what he says, just so calm. And I just thought it was fantastic. He's just like,
you just let me borrow that belt of yours for a second.
Yep, that's it. And we'll be on our way. And it's just like,
because the belt has healing powers, doesn't it? And at this point, he needs it to heal Bridget, doesn't he?
Yep, and that's all he wants. But he's just standing there, just so calm, so powerful. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean the art in this, I found it difficult to have any flaws in it. Like for me, Dan Mora's stuff just it's hard to pick apart. It's really hard. I mean, I'm sure you could, you know, if you had some sort of technical ability as an artist, because nobody's perfect. I'm sure you could go through that and go, oh, this could have been done better, or that wasn't done right. But as far as I go as reading comic books, there's nothing in this that I can say is bad. Like Dan Mora couldn't draw a bad stick figure, in my opinion.
Even with 2 dots and lips?
Yeah, even with 2 dots and lips. We got Firehawk here saying it felt like Duncan was drawn bigger throughout the book as his confidence grew, as did he.
I think maybe you see his stance change throughout the book. Maybe like his posture gets better.
Yeah, gets more confident in the way that his body language is and stuff as well.
Even that panel there, he looks really like athletic and like a good upper body structure, like he's hitting the gym. Whereas the first kind of few panels, he used to look like a wee wimp in a sports coat. He just didn't really think that he would be capable of kind of being.
I did wonder, does he have like super strength or something? Because when he's fighting the questing beast at the beginning, he picks up this massive log.
He's a rugby player, isn't he?
Shoves it in his face.
He's a rugby player.
Yeah, he is a rugby player. That's good.
So it's all. I think it's just all from that.
We've also got Amy here saying, having lived in Bath for a year, I knew the setting based off the art alone before I even saw the name on the location.
This is what I wanted to talk about as well. Like Dan Mora, even though he was good at faces, you learn in this book how good he is at like locations as well. Because Amy and I, we've both been to Bath, we've visited there a lot of times and stuff. And I know it says in the top corner where they are, it says Bath, but I knew it was Bath before I read that. And the main panel they show there where they're standing by the cathedral, I could look at that picture and take you there to Bath, and I'd be like, this is where this picture is, drawn from. It is literally spot on.
Wow.
So it's great. I'm really impressed with that.
Yeah, and it was nice to read something as well, for me at least this week. And this isn't anything to do with criticism or anything like that. It was just nice to read a book set in a familiar setting for me this week. I will say that.
In Britain, isn't it?
Yeah.
I actually struggle because I always like to read the voices and what I think their voices are. But for maybe I'm just used to reading Marvel and DC where they're all like American voices. I struggled to get like an English voice and an accent when I was reading these characters. It was just really strange.
Don't you just hear it in Scott's voice?
Everything's in my voice.
Yeah, everything should be in. When I read now, everything is in Scott's voice.
Stuff.
Scott should just record himself like reading some books instead of us. Me and just fall asleep to them at night time.
Just audio books, yeah.
We've got Tom here as well saying he loved the questing beast in this.
Questing beast was awesome.
Dog full of stomach full of dogs.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it?
I didn't notice that the first time I read this book, but when I read it for this now, I don't know why I didn't realize it. It was just so.
That's what Duncan hears. He says, "I can hear barking, but it's muffled." And then the beast shows up. You know why it's muffled because they're just like clawing at its stomach.
I had to look at the panel several times and to work it out. At first, I was like, "Where is the dog? Where's the dogs? Oh, the dogs are there!" Like, it was like that for me.
Yeah. I think the other cool thing I wanted to talk about with the art as well was the fact that whenever something, when I say the magical sparkle bits, that's when the kind of setting changed a bit color and you had all those little floaty circles around. I think that was a really cool way to tell the reader without a character saying, "Oh, there's magic around." You know what I mean? It was a nice way of just drawing it or coloring it in that way.
Should we just say
and it didn't. When they were crossing over into the other world and stuff, there wasn't none of that kind of Wayne's World. There wasn't any of that like transition. It was just this kind of subtle change in color, wasn't it? Like you said with the dots and stuff there.
Yeah, that was clever.
Yeah, we got Firehawk here as well, saying he was trying to use all of our accents as he read it.
Sorry.
Yeah, we apologise now, mate.
If you can hear my accent, well done.
Yeah, I don't even know how you would explain that kind of accent in Bath or Bath, however you want to pronounce it.
It's Bath, darling. Like,
is it Bath? Bath, darling. You say Bath.
Yeah.
Bath. I don't know. I couldn't care less whether you say Bath or Bath, in my opinion. But yeah, the accent, I can't quite. I don't know how you would explain it.
I think people from Bath. It's a very just a clean British. There is no accent to it. You know what I mean? It's just, it's all just everything is pronounced properly and.
It's one of the posher places in Britain, I should imagine.
Wonderful place.
I could say in Bath. Yeah, it's lovely. Lovely place. All right, enough gushing over Bath. We're not here to review the city. We're here to review the comic book. So I'll show my panel because my panel brings us on to the writing. So is anybody, are we kind of done touching on the main points of the art, or was there something anybody else had? No? Okay. So the reason why I chose my panel is because, like, as I said, the artwork I didn't have an issue with. However, the dialogue in this, I did. Sadly, I had a lot of issue with the dialogue in this. And that was because when I was reading this, there were certain comments or remarks that characters would make. And I don't know whether it's me not knowing how I should have taken that or not, but I seem to have got trapped somewhere between it being like a whimsical Scooby-Doo comment or really just kind of like a poor choice of words. Like I wasn't sure how I'm supposed to take it. And an example here, and I found lots of them throughout the book, but this one is like there where you've got Bridget injured and he's got her over his shoulder. They're having this serious conversation. You've got the police there, the lights are flashing. It's quite a serious moment. And he says, oh, speak up, you're ever so quiet when you're dying. And I'm like, is that supposed to be whimsical, funny, kind of like, whoa, or is that just a poor choice of words? Like, I felt it didn't fit at certain points with the moment for me, and it emotionally confused me.
I think one, he was mad at her for lying about the Grail being able to save her, and then, maybe he just wanted her just to shut up because he'd had enough of her speaking. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but I think I think when I read it, I also thought it was a weird choice of words. Like, your gran may potentially die. Why are you giving her this like sarcastic shit? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I found a lot of it. I think it started off on that footing for me with the first 3 issues. I was, at least for those first 3 issues, I was like, is this a kind of Scooby-Doo type thing? Like, where I'm supposed to be laughing along, you know, with the monster hunting and all of that? Or am I actually supposed to be taking it seriously? Like, for the first 3 issues, I was honestly, 100% a little bit confused on how emotionally, like, Kieran Gillen wanted me to feel as a reader.
Right.
I was a little bit lopsided on that, and it did get a little bit better in those last 3 issues of this volume. But again, those comments were still there, where I was kind of like,
See, I did notice that particular one, but there were a few things in the dialogue and the writing that I wouldn't say confused, but maybe some of the things that he's trying to be kind of funny or clever, that they just kind of fell flat almost. And there seemed to be a lot of kind of British, like, how do you put it? Like, I can't even think. Instead of be having a Twix and a cup of tea or something, like, they purposely try to put some things to make people know this is a British book. I just didn't think it's necessary. They're in Bath, you know. It's just like, you don't need Twixes.
Phil, Twix are always necessary in any situation.
I'm fond of a good Twix, you know, but it was just,
your gran's dying, crack open a Twix. You know, you'll feel better.
There's just a few things that they kind of like again trying to highlight that it's British, and I just thought there was just no point. It wasn't funny. It wasn't necessary.
It wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
Like the fact every time something went wrong, she would shout "bugger."
Bugger.
Bugger. Yeah.
I liked it at the start when she said bugger a couple of times, but then she said it too often.
Yeah, too many times. Don't need to say that many times.
We got a few theories of here as well. He says, Amy saying, I took it as him showing his confidence a bit, but also trying to take control of the situation the best he can. We've got Liam saying, I took it as a way of making the situation lighter, in that Bridget would listen and be reassured.
Because I guess that's how she was. You know what I mean?
And Tom saying, like, he thought it was a bit of a joke or a dig at her.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, like, to me, it just seemed confusing.
Open to interpretation, I guess.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, those first 3 issues, it spoiled a lot for me. It really did. Even because, like, that's the that part of a story, like right at the beginning. That's the point where you're forming connections with the reader, isn't it? Of that character development and stuff. And I found that whole Scooby-Doo vibe that kept creeping in for me made me kind of like not really warm to the characters. I think as much as some of you guys did. Like, I found Duncan a bit wet. I found Bridget quite annoying. Like, I didn't warm to Bridget at all in this. Yes, she was a badass, and you know, she was a kick-ass grandma. There's like no getting away from that. But she started to grind on me, I'll be honest, as a character.
She needed a good kicking.
In a way,
she was very cold, wasn't she? Like, even the fact that her husband or ex-husband or whatever, like, I understand she has a bigger job to do as well.
She shot him in the dick.
Maybe he was, I don't know, maybe he was playing away, but it was just, she just seemed very cold. Like, even the daughter, her husband, the grandson, I understand, like, she has this bigger thing to deal with as such, but just...
she's so cold towards her grandson, like, to the point where she sort of kind of brushes him aside and just, I'll explain everything later. It's not important now. But she's so excited. So she does have a personality because she's so excited to be monster hunting again. She's so overly ecstatic that she gets to go and do another mission. So she has a personality. She has joy in her, just not for her grandson.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really grating.
I just found them all a little bit cold. I found that with all of the characters for me. Like I found Duncan quite cold. I know we're at a point in that story where he's still trying to work out what the bloody hell's going on. Like I get that, but again, I didn't really feel a lot of warmth from him. None of the characters really kind of radiated any kind of warmth to me in this book.
It's not particularly a warming situation that they're in, is it?
But also,
no, but you're talking about family as well, and you've got like Rose. There was no. I didn't even really feel that the kind of like it's clear that is possibly going to be the love story, I should imagine, between Duncan and Rose. And I didn't even really feel any embers or sparks burning there either. Like I just generally found no warmth in the book.
To be fair, Rose's part, apart from holding the candle, that kept open the other world. I don't really know because if you're going to introduce a character like Rose, it's a potential girlfriend, say for Duncan. There should be a more dynamic between them, like more kind of like risk of like Rose's life and Duncan steps up or something to save her. You know what I mean? But I think again. But
One second.
I just think like Rose's character was kind of unnecessary in a way. Like it didn't add to the.
They just needed like a Giles Watcher from Buffy, didn't they? So she was just the next Watcher, and they just needed her. And I mean, the fact that it was the girl that he had this really awkward date with at the beginning. I know the grandmother sort of washes it away by saying, "Oh, she's already part of the story." It's like, do you know what? You can't just do that. There has to be more of a reason than because it's part of the story.
What I will say as well, like in terms of like trying not to be unfair and Rose and the character development and stuff, because there obviously was there, but the book, it was very quick. Like it was very fast paced. Like I'm assuming it all happened on the same evening, like the kind of from start to finish. It was all like the same.
Within like a 24-hour period or something.
Yeah. With you saying there about it being quick, like not, I agree, not chronologically though, as in it running through time, but it almost seemed the writing was quick. It's like it's almost like Kieran made the choice to just go, I have a hell of a lot of story to tell here, so I don't have any time for relationship building with these characters. And I felt the book suffered, for me, because of that reason.
Even with the knights, the King Arthur, whenever he's kind of resurrected or half resurrected, he nominates these knights. I think there's 4 of them, and they look really badass and really mean. But they had one scene where they slaughtered 2 cops, but like I think they could have done more with them in a way. You know, for example, whenever we were reading Canto, we commented on the 2 giants at the doorway or the gates. And they weren't in it for that long, but we got a lot out of the giants from Canto. Whereas in this, we didn't really get a lot from the knights as such. I think there was more we could have done with them.
I feel like it was one of those like generic henchmen kind of thing. You know, like you had the main knights that would follow King Arthur, but then you just all the other ones, the normal just grey generic ones, they were just bodies. You know what I mean? Like in films or TV shows where they just put someone in just to kill them. You know what I mean? They felt like those kind of characters.
We have a few comments here. I don't want to fall too far behind. We got Andy from Perpetual Comics is saying flat writing is a great way to describe it. Tedious in issues and cringeworthy at times. I kind of agree with Andy a little bit on that. I did find it a little bit at points when I was reading, like that example I showed there, and when he's saying, "Oh, speak up, you're quiet when you're dying." I was kind of like, ugh, you know what I mean? I kind of agree. TB Collects says he has a question for us guys. I'm from the US. Is the Arthurian legend a big thing growing up in the UK? The extent of my Arthur knowledge is Disney Sword in the Stone. For me personally, like I don't think it's a big deal. You know, growing up here, I wasn't taught it at school or anything like that.
Were you not?
No.
Oh.
I think I've only recently just learned about my Arthurian stuff pretty much because of one particular board game that I have. And it's a story-based board game based around the Arthurian stuff. So that's where I've learned about all of the different knights and you know, all that kind of thing. And then this just kind of, this was good for me to be like, oh, okay, that guy. But
it's definitely predominant in places you will go, let's say. So if you go down to Cornwall, you've got like Pendragon Castle with Merlin's Cave underneath, and there's a lot of kind of landmarks that are supposedly connected to the legend of King Arthur. So
Yeah.
you'd probably, if you were traveling around the UK, TB, you'd probably come across places that have connections to the legend and things like that. Hope that answers the question.
Sorry, Scott, go on.
Go on. Yeah, go on. It's all right.
Amy's saying she would say it's pretty big in Wales.
Giggity.
It's like they have that saying over in America, don't they? Everything's bigger in Texas. Is that what it's like in Wales as well?
Arthurian myths and legends are bigger in Wales, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But like I really enjoyed the kind of mythology side of things, and I felt like that Kieran really did his research. I guess like because he didn't write it in such a way that it was teaching you how to suck eggs. It was like stop it, Phil. It was but it was written in a way as if you should know a little bit about it. But if you don't know loads about it, I think going into this, just give that kind of Arthurian myth and legend just a quick Google.
Do you know what though? I never thought about this, so I am really happy that TB's putting some input into this as well, because I never thought how this would maybe translate overseas. And TB saying, okay, see, I was completely lost in the references and characters dealing with Arthur. I assumed I was just too dumb to get them. So I kind of I never thought about that. Like, would people because I think there is a lot in these first 6 issues that it makes the presumption that you know something about King Arthur. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think you need to. Is this a book written for people who do know about that kind of myths and legends kind of side, or and is this book popular purely based on the hype from people who know about this kind of stuff? And going, you're like, Shane, I really enjoyed this book. It's about Arthurian myths and legends. I love that kind of stuff. You should read it. And then you go, I don't know anything about Arthurian myths and legends. I read this book and I didn't enjoy it that much because I didn't know much. So maybe I'm just dumb.
Are you inventing conversations with yourself?
And did you just call me dumb?
But the thing is too, I don't know if you need to know so much apart from the key players: King Arthur, Excalibur, Sword and Stone, and
Which
Merlin.
are 2 different things in this book.
Yeah, and Merlin going forward. Other than that, I don't know if you need to know, because I had no idea.
A lot of it is explained away by the Gran, because she says it's not exactly like that. Oh, it's not exactly that. So you can go into it with the bare minimum of knowledge.
You're right there. Do you think that was intentional as well? That was their kind of get out clause for them to just not have to go in and dig too deep into the whole details of the myth and the legend around Arthur.
I took it as a little bit of lazy writing. Didn't want to build the world too much. I found that throughout the entire book. Every time he would ask his Gran something, she was like, not the time. I'll tell you later. So, tell me now.
I do agree.
This is the first 6 issues of the book, and I, as the reader, need to know. Even if you tell me in her mind and she's not telling Duncan, tell me.
Yeah, that's true. Tell the reader, because I never thought about it that way. I was just kind of thinking, I was in the point of the story that they were rushing to get to get the Grail before Galahad and so on. So, but yeah, as the reader, we're not rushing. We're here to read it.
There were quite a few full pages that had no text at all, where you could have been telling us the story.
Yeah, because there was no actual what's the word?
Narration.
Sure, there wasn't much anyway.
No, a little bit. There was a little bit in the book, but not majorly. But she should have been narrating throughout the whole book to tell us, the reader, what she isn't telling Duncan.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I did enjoy the fact that with, they kept saying this is how the story goes. We're in the story now and things like that. But I really liked how Bridget's knowledge of the stories led to her being able to manipulate that and win, dropping the belt from the castle, and like kind of ruining that story, and like knowing what is required to be able to get the Grail. Like you need to see the Fisher King to go through the door and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and when she made herself the surrogate Fisher King by having him say that he saw her as his father figure as well, I took that to mean like in this world, if you believe in a story, that story becomes real.
Yeah.
That's what
that was something that again turned me off at that point, because it felt like they were kind of setting the parameters of this world, and then they were changing them when they needed to, and I was kind of like, oh, hang on a minute, you've made all this effort to say that we need to find the Fisher King when you could have just pretended you were a Fisher King. Like I found it broke my my engagement with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I think the main intention was just to stop the Fisher King. It wasn't to go and see the Fisher King to get the Grail. It was just to stop that altogether from anyone getting the Grail.
They wanted to kill him, didn't they? Initially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did she have to shoot herself? That part was incredibly unclear to me.
I didn't get that myself.
Oh, don't know.
Anybody know why she had to shoot herself?
I don't off the top of my head. The way I read that though was because that happens towards the end of this volume. I wondered if that was something that was coming in volume 2. Again, because there's so much that woman isn't telling everybody of like the reasons of why. Well, why did Arthur do this? I'll tell you another day. Like I just took it as one of those things. Like she's just doing stuff because there's a reason to her. And I think at that point, I just accepted she ain't sharing them reasons with anyone, you know. Because
the Fisher King, or who was her husband, shot himself because they couldn't use him to go into the other world. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do they have to like bleed to get through the doorway?
Firehawk is saying she did it to end the Fisher King doorway.
But why didn't she
I have a theory. Maybe. So to be the Fisher King, you don't have to have you have to have no genitals or testicles or whatever, right? So that was why you're the Fisher King. So did she shoot herself in like the ovaries or something?
She shot herself in her
childbearing age, Scott.
Yeah, but come on. I don't know. It seems weird now.
That hen house was well and
see, and this is why, and I've said it previously before, when questions and a particular kind of type of discussion needs to happen around that kind of element of storyline, that's not a good thing, in my opinion. It's good to have the discussion, but if as far as going as a reader, you sitting there reading it on your own, those things should be clear in my mind, you know, unless it's purposely ambiguous for further volumes down the line, then okay, fair enough. But if it's not, then we should know, you know.
I think Amy has hit the nail on the head of the reason why.
Let's read out her comment then. Amy's saying she shot herself to force Duncan to get the Grail for its healing properties. She is the only family he has ever known. So then once the Grail is found, the door can then be closed officially. Okay.
So she shot herself to go get the Grail.
Couldn't she just ask him to go and get it though?
He wanted to leave, didn't he? Wanted to just get out of there and
Duncan is very emotionally driven, I think. Yeah. He's very emotionally driven, and
if that's the reason, it was very unclear.
Can I just say, for those listening on the podcast, that noise that you heard wasn't my camera falling again.
It's from
not
me.
This time.
It's from me.
Yeah, and I can kind of see, again, it's just too confusing for me. Like that should have been clear. Am I wrong? Like
I 100% agree.
I think this whole relationship is just emotionally driven, and maybe Kieran Gillen is expecting us to read between the lines into why certain things are motivating people, or why people are saying things in certain ways.
Be able to see the lines, and when it's completely blurred, you can't read between the lines because they're not there to read between. This was just happened. She just went, right, I'm the Fisher King, bang, and shot herself. She didn't say, right, now go through, get the Grail. And if he'd have said no, then she shot herself, it would have been more clear. But she literally opens the door and then shoots herself. So it's like,
I agree with that, Shane. I think you are right. You know, in order for you to kind of read between those lines and look at any kind of subplot there, you need to be able to see clearly where those are, and that was not very clear. All right, we're 45 minutes in. Let's do it then. Let's get into final thoughts and scores. So, folks, if you've read it, which it appears a lot of people have this week, drop your score in the chat. I will make sure I pick those up and we get those written down, and we'll take an average of what everybody thinks. So, Phil, let's start with you, mate.
Okay. I'm also as we all are, emotionally tied to this book, because this book is the book that brought us Scott onto YouTube. Of course, it's the first book he read. But to be honest, I'm the same as what Dean and Shane have said about being slightly confused. Now, I don't know a lot about King Arthur and the myth and the legend, apart from I know who he is and his knights and so on, or the Round Table, that kind of stuff. But I was confused at times. I actually read this in 2 parts. I read the first 3 last night, and the only reason why I stopped was I was getting tired, but I wanted to go on because each issue wanted me to read on. But I almost found it like it felt like it was 2 parts. The first part, when it wasn't kind of leaning heavy too much on Arthur stuff, was exciting. It was good to kind of get Bridget was a bit badass. You seen all this, like she was tough, and Duncan was a bit wimpy, but you can kind of see starting to come around a bit. The second half of the book was a bit confusing, but I still enjoyed it in a strange way. I thought the artwork was fantastic. I am going to read the second volume probably tonight, but I feel like I need to now, because the end as it is now, I feel like I'm missing something. Like there's not something quite fulfilled as a story. So I'm going to read the second part. I hadn't really thought of a score beforehand. I'm going to mark it down just purely because of the confusions. I'm going to give it, sorry, Scott, a 6.5.
Don't apologize, mate. That's you.
It's a 6.5 from the money. I don't know why I sang that, but we did. Shane, over to you, buddy.
I enjoyed the book for the most part. Art, fantastic. Flawless art, can't fault it. The idea and the story I really liked, but the writing I really did not like throughout the whole of the book. I like the idea of the King Arthur lore and the changing it and stories happening because you believe in them. I thought that was, I enjoyed that. So I don't want anyone to think I'm ragging on this book for the ideas. It's just the writing. The characters, Duncan grew on me. At the beginning, I really despised him, from him bumbling to him always messing up, from the stone to the Fisher King to the shot that she got, and he stood up and he just ruined everything. And it wasn't until like the final issue that he stood up and became a real badass, and I really enjoyed that. But then in that last issue, they defeat, or they get King Arthur to leave by throwing his belt out of a window. And I was like, what? What's happening here? So, I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm not going to read the next one because I feel if I leave it here, I can imagine a better story and I can imagine where these characters will go. So I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to leave it here and just enjoy what I read and just leave it there. And I'm going to give it a 7.
A 7 from Shane there. Right, okay. Kieran and Dan, if you are watching, don't worry. There's, I think Scott's going to turn this around right for you now. So, Scott, over to you, buddy.
No pressure, no pressure. As everyone else has said, the art throughout has been fantastic. Clean lines, wonderful detail, coloring was brilliant. I think the mood and everything was just right. To be honest, that's what I think of that. And the story was fast-paced, maybe a little bit too fast-paced, but I thought Duncan's growth was a nice pace. So, not like the story. This is a story where I think knowledge is required. You should say that and a little sticker or something, knowledge required. But myself, I had that knowledge, and therefore I enjoyed the book and those little extra references that people might not have understood. And the characters were great. Bridget was my favorite. It was that kind of, you don't really see a badass, sarcastic granny kicking ass, every day.
You've never met my grandma. That's all I'm saying. And she's like Bridget, but Cockney and swears a lot more. That's all.
But yeah, I love that. She was definitely my favorite character. But the story was a bit too vague in bits. But overall, it was a solid story. But it did have its faults and it could have improved. So I'm going to give it a 7.5.
7.5 from Scott right there. Okay, before we get to mine, let's have a look, see what everybody is saying here. I think we've got a fair few scores in here right now. Let me just scroll right back up, find out where it starts. 1 second. We've got, I think it starts here. We've got 8 from me. This is Amy, as someone who knows a lot about Arthur. can't even say that. King Arthur history, and a huge interest in myths and legends in general. It's a good start halfway through volume 2 now. So you go to an 8 from Amy. We have a solid 5 from Andy at Perpetual Comics. We've got a 7 from a Firehawk. Tom from This Month in Movie says artwork and coloring, no issues, 10 out of 10. However, the story and characters, 4 out of 10. So he's going to go in at 6 for the overall story there. Quick hello to Comic Band as well. Hey guys, I'm stupidly late to the show. Just wanted to say hi. I'll catch it. I missed on the replay. Howdy to you, mate. Thanks for dropping in. We got Liam. Has to be a 7 out of 10 for me. Good and fun book, I thought, and looking forward to volume 2. And we've got TB Collects. I love the book overall. So much excitement. Despite the confusing parts, I want to read more. And that's what I want from a series. 8 out of 10 for me. And I think, hang on, Firehawk has changed it to a 7.5. He says, let me go 7.5, but won't be reading on unless it's in the book club. He did enjoy it. So we got a 7.5 there as well.
Cool.
So there we go. So my final thoughts and scores are, I think I kind of lean more towards you with this one, Shane. The artwork I loved. I loved the Disney-esque style of Dan Mora. I feel really bad keep saying Disney, but he just has that kind of magic for me in the artwork, and I loved it just as much as I love the Klaus stuff as well. I have no issues there at all. The colors are lovely. The character designs of King Arthur and the knights, all was great. The issue I had was with the writing. I think Andy said it. At points, I found it a little bit cringy. Like, it got to that point to me where I was all like, ooh, woof, really? You put what? Why you said that? And again, I weren't sure at first in those 3 issues. I honestly thought, oh, maybe this is a kind of Scooby-Doo thing, like it's a wacky adventure. And I don't think it was supposed to be. And that just kind of left me, not intellectually confused, but emotionally confused. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to be feeling here when I'm reading this? So that to me let this book down, in my opinion, quite a lot. I would have liked a little bit of warmth in there, at least from a character somewhere, just something to show that there was, some love between these people that are scrambling around trying to work out what's going on with all of this, myth and legend, monster hunting stuff that's happening. I did like the cliffhangers, I will say. So I'm not going to, beat the writing down too much. I did enjoy those cliffhangers. I thought that they were nicely placed, that you would want to read on more. It's just by that point, some of that stuff that I've mentioned there, I'd kind of the rot had already set in for me. I think that would put it that way as we got to that point. So for me, it's a 5.5 for me.
Cool.
I was so wanting the camera to fall at that moment. It would have been awesome.
I think Liam mentioned the comments about it being a fun book, and essentially that was the most you could take out of it. It is fun, but you're right, Dean. There was no kind of meaningful kind of relationships or love or anything like that. So or emotions.
I think the expectation was higher as well, because there is, for folks that maybe have not heard of this, there is a lot of hype around this book, and again, maybe that's my issue, that I went in with some expectation around that. I try not to when I read books, but we all do fall victim to that at some point. But I just expected more from this one.
It wasn't one of the hottest books of last year. Everyone kind of talked about it and stuff. So I was the same. I expected a lot more, but that is what it is. I still enjoyed it, but I wish it was better. Yeah,
I completely agree with you. And we've got Andy here as well saying, can we just take a moment for Dean's camera stand to get straight out of the nearest window? You're not wrong, mate. I'm telling you. Sorry about that. So let's do the scores then. So the average score that the chat have come up with, everybody participating in this episode, 6.9. That's what you guys gave it, a 6.9. Over on our side, we have given it a 6.6 is what we've come up with. So calling up
Maximum Carnage.
Calling up our Nerd Herd leaderboard. Let's see where it falls. There's the Nerd Herd leaderboard. 6.6 puts this at, where is it? Just above the Vision.
Carnage.
Yes. Just above the Vision. So in 10th place. So it made it into the top 10.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure how I feel about that, but all right. Do we think that's fair? I think, Scott, you might be a bit disappointed by this episode.
I feel biased, but yes, I am disappointed.
And
where do you, just out of interest, where do you feel that? Well, you've already said, haven't you, with your score, you felt this should have fallen at a 7.5. Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I thought this would score higher. I kind of knew what I was going to score it roughly, but I kind of thought you guys have all enjoyed it. I didn't expect top 5, but to be up there at least, kind of between 6, 7, 8 type thing. This
was another one of those Secret Wars ones for me, where when we all read that, we all thought the other people were going to really have enjoyed it, and we were going to be the only ones. I think the same kind of thing has happened here with Once a Few. I honestly thought all of you guys were going to have loved this, and I was going to be the only one kind of ragging on the writing a little bit.
I was dreading it, dreading looking at his little face when I gave it.
I know, we got Andy saying Scott looks devastated.
No, I mean,
we all love Mara's art, so at least Scott's best friend can still be happy.
Yeah.
Firehawk gets the quote of the show, and he says, "If we were all the same, we'd be reading Future State every week." Completely agree, man. Quote of the show right there. So there you go. That's number 10. That's where that falls. That is Once and Future, Volume 1. The King is Undead. Hope you've enjoyed that. Hope you've enjoyed the discussion, and thank you for joining in. Next week, we will be reading The House of M from Marvel in 2005. That's right. We're going to go back and polish up on more WandaVision speculation, I think, with this.
Looking forward to that.
Nice.
Yeah, should be good. Especially with a lot of the the stuff that they're talking about with the show. It's going to be interesting to kind of visit this one and have a chat about that.
Although I'll have to add just before, the artist on this book is the same artist from Thor from last week. So just prepare yourself, Shane, for a lot of facial expressions.
Another collage.
It's Esad Ribic, that's right. So yeah, looking forward to that, and that's what we're doing next week, folks. Before we go, we'll have a whiz around, but before we do that, rather than get to the end of the media, I just want to say a congratulations to Phil and Scott for getting to 100 subscribers on YouTube. Well done, guys. And if you haven't subscribed to them and you want to, you can find the links below in the description as well to all of the channels that people have on here. And I also want to say, just before we get to Friday, happy birthday to Phil. Phil will be 18 on Friday. So everyone's slide into his DMs and wish him a happy birthday.
I was going to go with 24 to make it more realistic, you know, but
Yes, that would make it so much more realistic.
it's only 35, not that old.
Let's have a whiz round, and you guys can let people know what you've got going on this week on your channels. So, Phil, how about you? What you got going on?
I've nothing planned this week. I'm just kind of currently recording the odd vlog piece every so often. As if you can see from the YouTube channel, I'm in my current nerd cave at the minute. It's not kitted out, so I'm just recording stuff as I go away. I'm building things and setting things up. So if and when there's enough footage, I'll put a wee vlog video out. But there's nothing overly planned or immediately planned for me at the minute.
Are you going all out in the? Are you going to get like the strip lighting? And,
I'm going all out.
Nice. Wow.
It's going to be. This is a professional studio now. You know, this is it.
Nice. Looking forward to seeing it, mate.
We'll all come round and we'll record from your man cave.
Absolutely.
Might be expensive.
I'll be charging you, yeah.
Shane, how about you, mate? What you got going on over at Dawn of Comics?
I'm continuing my future state. I've only got a couple more weeks of that, thankfully. But also this weekend we'll be recording the 5th Dawn of Comics quiz, which will be out probably, hopefully, Monday or Tuesday next week, once I've edited it down. And there will be a viewer competition for people watching. So,
well, for people watching, we can't enter.
You can enter as long as you watch it back.
I'm in.
There you go. That's what's going on over on Dawn of Comics. Looking forward to the quiz, mate. I always have a great time doing that.
Good, I'm glad.
Scott, how about the shelf? What's going on the shelf?
We've done some finishing touches for the next episode of Comic Airwaves. Amy and I have recorded the start of a little something that we're working on. So look forward to that.
Not for YouTube, Scott, surely.
For YouTube,
Keep that private.
And I guess for anyone who did enjoy reading this book and wants to go into it in a bit more depth, go ahead onto my channel and look at my read and review series. I review each issue individually on this volume, so if you want to talk about it more, go and watch those and comment on them, and we'll have a chat.
Cool.
There you go. Perfect. A lot going on then this week, to be fair. As for me, I've not really got anything going on, to be honest. I'll be partaking in the quiz, so we'll be recording that. Other than that, I will be here next week. But so what I want to do is, because I don't really, venture off outside of this little square box here anymore. It's very rare. I'm just gonna end on my note on a few shout outs. So I will drop some links for you as well. Go and check out Eon of. I've got to sign in now. What's going on? Why is technology hate me today, man? Hates me. Absolutely hates me. But yeah, I mentioned you saw a comment. He was here earlier. I'm not sure if he's still around, but Lee's fairly new, and he's also got a shop as well. So yeah, go check that out. He sells some, I will say, fairly decently priced slabs and stuff. So if that's your thing, folks, go check out Lee over at Eons of Comics. I am signed in now. I'm dropping the link, I promise. I was trying to waffle to stall him. It's not working though, is it? Boom, there you go, one link in. So yeah, go check out Lee from Eons of Comics. He does live streams. He's got a shop, as I said, that sells slabs and stuff. Super cool guy, super nice guy. And earlier today, I think he did a live stream about the 85th anniversary of the Phantom, which was really interesting to me. That's a character I know nothing about. So I was pretty engrossed in that before we came on to do this. So there you go. That's Lee from Eons of Comics. And also go check out two chaps from our friends over the pond called Knights of the Nerds Table. They've just started doing a podcast. There's two guys there, and it's just general nerdy chat. They talk anything about Star Wars, comic books, and all of that stuff. So, and they're really nice guys as well. So go and pay those a visit and check them out, see what you think. So there you go. That's really it from me, folks.
Cool.
Great.
So All that's left to do is I'm waiting for the camera to fall. Get your waves out.